Hey guys, it's Dan with Avantnovis. Hope everybody's doing good today. Got a kind of interesting one here. I was working on a map yesterday, as a couple of you saw in the live stream, and it just wasn't working for me. So I decided to kind of fix it and show you guys how I fix it and what software I use. So let's go ahead and get started here. Here's the map I made, and it looks okay. I mean, it looks okay, but I don't like it for what it is. You see, this entire continent was supposed to be about the size of Asia, and it's just not looking right. The dimensions are off, the scale is off, everything's off about it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of fix it right now. Now, there's two ways we can fix it. The first way is kind of extreme. It's actually re-preparing the map to do it all again. And then the next way is we're actually going to fix it in ArtRage. But in order to fix this in kind of a way I want and plan it out, we're going to fix it for Wonderdraft. First things first, though, is we are going to lock the bottom layer. We're going to come over here with, well, we're first of all going to make a layer here. We're going to turn this layer black as such. Then we are going to paint this entire layer black. Now, the picture I am working on is 42 inches by 36 inches with the DPI of 500. So ArtRage can be a little on the slow side, and that's fine. Next, we're going to bring our previous map back in. We want this black because we're going to take this in Wonderdraft, and we are going to import it to Wonderdraft and plan it out. Now, to do that accurately, we're going to take our roller brush here. We're going to make it white. We're going to turn down any metallic in that. And we're just going, oops, wrong layer. Dopey me. And we are just going to paint this all white. Now, what your roller brush is going to do, it's going to get rid of pretty much any of the paint. It's going to squash it really big. It does leave a little bit of a color stain in it, but that's okay. We don't mind that too much. So again, in Wonderdraft, we're going to change this to white and black. Now we can also change it into this in Photoshop, and that's kind of actually what we're going to do next. You can do it in Wonderdraft, but you want to do it in Photoshop first. Now, the reason we're going to do this is we're going to be importing this into Wonderdraft, and the import is land is white, ocean is black in Wonderdraft. Now, Wonderdraft does have a max resolution of 8,000 by 192 pixels by 8,192. So we're just going to beat it to the punch. And we are going to modify this to kind of meet that. 720 by 480. We're going to bump this down to about 250. Just going to hit OK and wait a little while. ArtRage is going to compress the crap out of this. Now, while we do that, there we go. We're now going to export this as a PSD file. Or, you know what, we could actually, let's change this to a JPEG. We're in current projects, so we're going to go right to Wonderdraft with this. Here we are in Wonderdraft. We're going to discard this, and we're going to make a new painting, and we're going to copy our pixel that we saved this as. So we saved it in Wonderdraft as 720 by 480, 4800, excuse me. And we are going to make a new picture in Wonderdraft exactly the same size. So we hit yes. And then we're going to hit import. We're going to find our map. This is going to take a little bit of time. I apologize. There it is. We're going to import that to Wonderdraft. And you see that? Boom, right into it. All happy and fine. And again, what we did is we resized this file. Edit. Resize painting. There's our resolution. And then we go into Wonderdraft, we hit new painting, and then we import it here. Let's go ahead and go to themes. Let's go to adventure. Adventure's fun. There we go. Now, the reason I'm doing it here is because I need to plan out the mountains a little bit better. Let's go back to Wonderdraft here. We're not going to save this. We're absolutely not going to save this, so let's close that. And let's open that again. It's going to take a little while. Kind of shut down some programs here. Oh, Steam, go away. All right. And again, this is what it looked like. By the way, big shout out to Puppet Master. How you doing, sir? Good to see you, as usual. So this is kind of what I did on this mountain. I took, let's go to this layer. Let's go to gel pen. I took the center of these, like right here, and I compressed all the land into the middle here, and it just doesn't feel right. And we get these gigantic mountains that in the real world would be, oh my gosh, like 20, 40 miles in the sky, and it just didn't feel good. I mean, if that's what you're going for, great. But I think we need to do something better here in Wonderdraft. So let's go ahead and look here. Let's just go for it. Let's grab some of our mountain symbols. We're going to bring these down to about 15. Yeah, that's good. Maybe a little bit bigger. Now, with this specific map, I have a little bit of... Let's go ahead and get in here. And with this map specifically, we have a large continent, and I don't want mountains. One of the problems of this map is how the mountains kind of go like this, and I don't think I want that. It creates a very heavy, in this area, it creates a very heavy line, and that's just, it's giving me a bad day. So we're going to make sure that we don't have anything there. So let's go ahead and come in here. We are going to move our mountains kind of vertically. So let's just go in here. We are just going to kind of plan this out. I think I want some craggy mountains right here. And some craggy mountains up here. Now I could say I'm going to probably stay here in Wonderdraft, but I'm going to make this live stream fairly quick. So let's say I plan out my mountains here, and let's say we plan out some mountains down here, and we make some mountains down here. Again, I'm just going to do this fast so you guys don't have to sit for an hour for watching me what I'm doing here. And let's say I really like this. I'm going like, okay, that's where my mountains are planned out. And I'm going to export this as a PNG. Choose our path. I'm going to call this fixed. Just going to go through and export this. Give it a few seconds here. Also, thanks for tuning in, everybody that's in. We'll probably might even do 2 live streams today. One on Wonderdraft and ArtRage, and the second one on Dungeon Draft. Okay, and let's say this is our fixed mountain. So let's go ahead and come back into Wonderdraft here. We're going to go here, and we're going to actually file and import file the layer. We're going to choose what we just saved. Let's go ahead and find that. We're going to hit fixed. There we go. It's in now. We're going to resize that. We're going to hit OK. Give it a few seconds to process. Give it a lot of seconds to process. Then we're going to take the opacity of this and we're going to take it down to about 20%. And then we can see where those mountains are. And then we can fix this. We'd go in and fix it by creating the, by putting our, let's start putting our Yeah. Oops, wrong one. We'd put our landforms in, and then we'd come in and do our mountains where they'd be. Okay, and that's option one to fixing an ArtRage. Well, good thing you're here, Distributional. I'm going to show you something, how I actually fix my, Wonderdraft's the best for planning. But this is what I do to kind of get an idea of where things are. In ArtRage, it's a little tough to plan because it's all very organic and it either works or it doesn't work. So that's how I do my mountains in ArtRage. Let's go back to this original one. Let's fight this one. Let's get in here and let's kind of fight this one. Okay. So what I like in this is the breaking it down into form, structure, and design. What I like is I like the structure of these areas here. Okay, they're really, really cool. And how I did those is I just took an eraser and I just went like this, cut it out, and then used harsh chaos up into those. So let's say we're here, and I really don't like how tall these mountains are. So let's go ahead, come in here, and we're going to just quickly fix these mountains right now. So we're going to take our eraser. And the thing I don't like about actually, let's take our harsh chaos brush. Select harsh chaos, go to about 250. Go into the right. And we're just going to gently run the harsh chaos over these. And we're going to blend the large mountains back into the painting. It's going to kind of give us a ridge here, but that's okay. We'll figure that out here in a second. And again, same thing up here. We're just going to focus right here for now on these mountains. We are just going to, and again, circles is the key, because that's going to spread everything out. Going to get rid of these mountains because we don't want those mountains in anymore. So we don't like those mountains. And we're going to go into the bottom as much as possible. Get rid of these two. Get rid of this bad boy. All right, that's not too bad. Now, the next step is, you can kind of see we've cut down on the size. We also still have the elevations. We have some pretty good elevations right in here. Let's actually, let's change the cursor so this is a little easier, a bit easier for people to see. We're just going to go with our tool brush. Yeah. So we're in here. We're going along these in the correct layer. We're just kind of pushing these down. We're still keeping these little lines here. And the key here is the detail. Okay, right now I'm at 250, well, 212, and it's still looking big. So what I'm now going to do is come down to about 100 with my harsh chaos, and I'm going to pull from where the mountains are. Let's get a close-up view. I'm going to pull from the middle down. That's going to create a new texture, a smaller texture, about half the size. And the reason I screwed up with this is I was too big with my harsh chaos when doing the textures, doing the actual textures of these land. And what I'm doing right now, I'm going in and I'm fixing that. I'm going in for a much smaller harsh chaos. And I'm not pushing too hard. I'm just letting it flow as such. Looking for these big little divots. Up here, we're going to have some work. This is where the mountains are going to be. Let's go up here, same thing. And it's all about the size of harsh chaos. Now, just as a reminder, I am working on a print size that's 36 by 24 with 500 DPI. Okay, so your settings, if you're working higher or lower, might be a little bit tweaked. Just remember, size it till you kind of get this kind of texture. Now let's go ahead and zoom out and have a look at that. All right, looking a lot better, looking a lot better. But let's say we're worried about how high these mountains are here. Well, we can do something about that. We'll just go into our eraser, go into our settings, and we're gonna just reduce the pressure. Let's make that a lot bigger. We can come in. Now you guys can see how big this is. I'm coming in and I'm going over those mountains again where the high parts are. With my eraser, I'm just going to reduce that. See that there? I'm just going like this, making circles. Then I'm going to go back to Harsh Chaos. I'm going to run it over these lines. And lo and behold, we get a whole new set of topography. Don't be afraid to use the eraser. Your eraser is really cool. And now you can see where I really pushed in. I have a whole new height and depth. We've gone in and we've changed the structure in ArtRage. And now I am breaking this down. There we go. Just a little bit. And because I use the eraser here, I've got so much more really cool things going on. You know what? I want to use more of the eraser. And this time, instead of going left to right, I'm going to pull from the C in as such, all through that area. Again, you can see where I'm doing that. And then we go back in. Now, a little later today, I think I'm going to be doing some junk in World Creator just for grins. Because I need kind of a canyon setting for campaign I'm running. Okay, you see that? See how that creates those streaks there? So I'm starting to edit large. I'm editing very large, and then we'll go and do the details. Since we've now completely changed the function, the formation structure of this area. Okay, let's zoom in here and have a look at what's going on. Okay, see, we have some more little lines that we didn't see. Let's get rid of those really quick. And we're still at only 100% on our harsh cast brush. And we're going in and we're just getting rid of all this stiff, these eraser lines. We could live without it. We could live, just throw it in there and just, do what's next. Now, since this is organic and since we got rid of those mile-high mountains, we're going to ask ourselves where our next mountains can be. So you can see the difference there. You have these big mountains, and you can see the scale, the new scale we've made here. Now, I don't want, right now it's going, wait, I don't want that. So we're going to come in with our eraser here. We're going to chop down some more of that. Again, big eraser. And we move to our harsh chaos. And we're doing circle, 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 circle. Because circle blends up and down, creates texture. Circle blends. There we go. We still have that form. Now, you don't want to press hard on your eraser for this step. You just want it to come in and get rid of some of this stuff. All right. Still got a mountain here. Peter, that is a good question. I do have some videos comparing the two. Wonderdraft does here. Let's go to Wonderdraft really quick. Wonderdraft does something that Incarnate does not do. You can import things, export things, as I showed at the very earliest of this video. If I were to, we'll come back to this. If I were to import something, and Wonderdraft cannot do this unless they made an update that I'm not aware of. But I can go here and I can import, let's say, let's say this was a map and I imported it. And it's going to add to this. Do you see how it instantly adds the land and stuff like that? Let's import something else. See if I have anything on the desktop. Yeah, I'm just adding crazy little files into this so I can I can show the import. Wonderdraft does this. You can import stuff into it. Incarnate. Let me bring up Incarnate. Go over here. We'll log in really quick. Because Wonderdraft... Oh, gotta find it. One second. Oops. Yeah, now you guys can see all my names. I wanted to avoid that. Okay. Incarnate has a lot more options when it comes to, let's say we're going to create a new map. You have dungeon maps available. You have city maps available. You have, battle maps available. It does have more options for the actual map itself. If I am choosing a map, we'll just do that. If I'm choosing how to make a map, if I'm choosing what to make the map in, Incarnate offers a lot more color selection. It offers a lot more symbols. So if you're just making maps, I'd recommend just hitting Incarnate. Now, Wonderdraft, if you're editing maps and planning maps, or if you work with another program, hands down, I would recommend people work with Wonderdraft for the simple fact that you're able to edit. And you're able to edit every single function. And you can add your own symbols and stuff like that. A couple of symbols they have here. I have a ton of symbols, but like these guys here. We can like make some floaty earth stuff. And you can add symbols and stuff. You can add symbols from a bunch of people. Now, Incarnate does not offer that whatsoever. Okay, see, I just added those symbols. Everything's fine. Incarnate will not let you do that. Also, there's no option. You can resize map. You can export as an image. Let's see, we like this. We're going to export that, blah, 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 blah. But you can't import anything. You can't... also, they're really sticklers about if you wanted to sell maps. Incarnate's real sticklers about who can sell the map if you have a license, if you have a pro license and stuff like that. Also, a lot of gaming companies like DriveThruRPG or like Roll20 doesn't allow you to sell these maps because of how rigid some of Incarnate's copyright stuff is. But again, I'm just sitting here and blowing through this. I should do more in Incarnate. I do like the program. But if you, because right now I'm using Photoshop, I'm using Wonderdraft, I'm using ArtRage to create realistic maps. I hope that answers your question, Peter. I know that was kind of a very long explanation on which is better. There are two different tools used for, in my case, two different things. Anyways, back to Wonderdraft. Back to ArtRage. We're back in here, ArtRage. We've gone ahead and you can see the difference in scale, like right here with the textures. So now that I got a pretty good warm up on textures, I'm going to decide where I'm going to put my maps, my mountains. In this case, let's go for a dark red. I'm going to use my pen tool here. And I want some mountains like right here. Maybe Mountain Valley right here, and then mountains right here. Let's have them meet over here. Let's come over here, and I want a mountain here. Climbs up there, and a mountain range that climbs up here. And what the heck, let's... Actually, I'm not liking that. We're going to make these go vertical. So we're going to put a mountain here. First mountain range there. And this is going to come here. It's going to meet up with this bad boy, this area. right there. Maybe some mountains there. Okay, see, that looks a lot better. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my eraser, going to come down to about 20, and we're going to do instant erase. And we're going to come down to the let's go 20. Yes, I wanted 20, not 50. And we're going to make our grooves again here in Wonderdraft. Okay, do you see the size difference of the mountains there? So we're going to go here and we are going to run. Now, these are not rivers. Okay, big exclamation point on that. These are not river lines. This is erosion lines. Big difference. So we're going to start our erosion lines here. And then we're going to come here. Then we're going to come here and there. And again, this is just to show the high parts and low parts of the map. We'll put our rivers in later. But again, this is we want it really detailed as we go to the bottom of this mountain range. Again, I'm just using my eraser. And for your high points and low points, this is kind of fun. These are also kind of plateaus that we can make. And if you notice the difference, I had these big old lines here, but here I'm going to make them really small. Now, what do we do about this over here? Same thing. This is going to kind of join up. We will use some of these for some rivers. And you just kind of throw it how you want to and all that. Glad that helped, Peter. Really glad that helped. The more features, the one guy is doing Wonderdraft, and a whole team of a lot of people are doing Incarnate. So you're going to find a lot more features added into Incarnate faster than Wonderdraft. But again, Wonderdraft has such a huge community that makes a lot of custom brushes, custom styles and stuff like that. Just look up Wonderdraft symbols. I'll even link it in the description of this video once I post it. You can find some really cool stuff there. All right. See how I'm doing that? Just using the eraser, just having a fun time. Kind of going nuts. It's kind of like you're making the rivers you've always wanted to make, but you're never allowed to make because rivers don't flow that way. Sort of. There is exceptions to every rule. Okay. So this is for distributional. So I've kind of redone the scale. You can see the difference in scale. I hope you can. And we're going to now come in with we're going to do blur, but we're going to move it to about 3% and about softness at 3% because we just want a little bit of this. And we're going to make this pretty big, about 300%. And we're just going to go over where we erased. Okay, that's a little too big. Let's go down to about 100. Because we have that really cool texture with the harsh chaos. Let's increase this just a touch. What we want to do is run a blur on these lines that we drew. The reason why is it helps us in the next step blend these in a lot better. So here we are. And again, I'm not going to be using stamps on this, just for the sake that a lot of people don't have access to all the stamps I use. I just want people to see exactly how I do this in ArtRage at the same time. Back in here. I'm just passing this over it. Something else that this will do, if you have any mistakes, like right here, that was part of one of the erasers and I didn't blend it. And if you run the blur over it, you're going to notice any big mistakes because it's going to change the contour. And again, the structure and how the map looks, and it's going to change the contour, and any little mistake is going to show up in the lighting. Okay, so we're back right there. We've dug some pretty cool We've dug this out pretty cool. Now, what are we going to do the mountains? Well, mountains are kind of easy. We're going to go in, and first we're going to do our blopper here. We're going to change it to the brown that we're using. Come back into this layer. Oop, way too big. So let's go back to about 100. So look at that. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, and I'm just going to, where the mountains are, I'm going to pull the mountains down into some of these cracks as such. And again, I'm just using the tube tool. Just gently using the tube tool. And making sure I get mountains into some of these little plateau areas that I made. We're only going to do this, well, we might do a little more. Let me go ahead and just throw paint on here. Not being too careful. I'm just, oops, don't want that. And I'm just adding the dots of paint. We'll come in with the glitter here in a second. Also, guys, if you have any questions about map making or map making software, I'd love to answer it. There are a couple products that are coming up that I'm really interested in on Steam. They're not released yet, but once they do release, I'll show it to you. All right, there we go. Now we're going to grab our glitter. We're going to keep our glitter about 25. We're going to insert the random joke of how it is the herpes of arts and crafts, because I think that's funny as heck. Let's get rid of that layer. Let's come down here, and I'm just going to throw this in. Really big glitter just over the top of these. It's going to give me some more height that I want. Kind of have a break in the mountains there. That's cool. All right. Okay, so now we're going to go back to our blur. We're going to run our blur across these mountains for a while. There we go. Don't have to be too careful. Let's up the pressure to about 20%. That's a lot faster. There we go. And again, I'm running that at 100%, so it's 500. It's a brush size of 500 since my DPI is 500. Okay, now comes the fun part. It kind of looks like but we are going to go to our harsh chaos. We're going to turn down the pressure quite a bit. The settings for my harsh chaos brush is right here. It's at 67% pressure and 50% fall off. And then we're just going to run this harsh chaos starting at the bottom. It might be a scaling issue. Scale with mountains is such a pain in the butt. There's always something that's off about it. So we're going to run these up these cracks. I did a video on the scaling of mountains, the scaling of I'll link that in the bottom of the video once I publish this. But we are just going to run these through the cracks. But yeah, scaling's a pain. I can show you later in another. There's a video about getting correct scale on your map. And it's pretty cool. It's about how far people can walk in a day and how that adjusts to pixel height and pixel size. Okay. I think the key is don't be afraid. This is going to sound really weird, but don't be afraid to go small with your scaling. Okay. Yeah, I'll link it in the video too. It's a good one. I actually did 2 of those and I'm very proud of them. Now remember, if the key to ArtRage is having a pretty high DPI, anything above 400, and you're going to get good results. Otherwise, your scaling's going to be off. Now we're back here with our erosion. Now I'm just doing this with a pencil. Yeah, that's what that's what I had with this one. You see the size of these mountains and the different size here? I mean, here I just had these big old monstrous plateaus, and then right here I have these small ones. What we're going to do next is we are going to work on the mountains, and then we're going to finish this off. We're going to go to we're going to go to Harsh Chaos. With 500 DPI, we're going to go to 120. We're going to come to the side of these mountains right here, and we're just going to gently run our brush over these mountains as such. And we're going to get our mountain form. And when we blend the mountains, we're going to go back into these erosion channels. See that? I use the erosion channels to kind of chip away at the mountains. It's like right here. And right here. And then we get the small little mountains we want. And again, I'm not being afraid to go small. Like right here, there's a big mountain, so I'm going to kind of blend it in. Make sure I'm using that erosion channel. Same thing down here. Yeah, no, I'm glad you've been using those distributional. I spent like days on those. Yeah, it's a combination of both. I found that you actually, when you come in, let's say this was the stamp right here, coming in with the channels in this to kind of just snip it off there is really the way to go. We're going to zoom out here in a second. Again, using these erosion channels as a guide. I'm just going to leave this like that. And you see how we have those mountains now? These nice, small little mountains. There's some more work we need to do. Like right here, we need to blend this guy better. Just a touch, nothing big. Just a touch. And again, we're following our... This is how we fix issues with Wonderdraft. I mean ArtRage. Whatever it is. Okay, next step is, do you see how we have these guys here that looks like, you know, kind of crap? We're going to go to 75 with our Harsh Chaos, not 1075. We just want 75. We want to come in here and away from the mountains about that much. We're going to start just circling and blending where these erosions are. Now, if you like some of these erosions, definitely keep them. I'm just going to blend these in with a smaller brush so we get a little more scaling, a little more size in the scaling. See that? Same thing up here. Maybe if I'm feeling very adventurous, I'll hit the mountains. You know, tone those mountains down a little bit. Just cut them down as such. Distributional, I'm really glad those stamp packs worked for you. Okay, see that mountain range, how we're just cutting it down, making it look a little better. And sometimes you even want to might come over here and make a mountain pass. Come in here and cut down on this big. Sometimes when the mountains form together, you get these kind of weird triangular things like this, and it's kind of good to just kind of cut those back. But anyways, back to these areas here. Just going around in circles, and you can see the mass of the paint. And you know you're just going to have rivers following some of these. Okay. Just a little. Let's have a look at this now. All right, this area is looking a lot better. Do you see the difference between the sides of the mountains? Now we want this mountain to kind of be a little bit smaller. So we're going to come from the middle into it to cut it down. Just kind of organically let them grow. Not being afraid to just cut them out. If we want some really fun stuff, we can go back and we can choose our blur. This is blur at 3%. And you can go over the mountains to get rid of those hard lines with the blur. It creates kind of, it might create a plasticky feel. I kind of like that kind of feel. So they're not sticking out so much. So these mountains here, you can see the difference between these huge ranges and then these smaller ranges. Let's go ahead and paint that now. We're going to go into our brush at 800. We're just going to run it through there. See how better that looks? All right. Next, we're going to paint that. So we'll go with kind of a dark green. We'll definitely reduce the size of that. We're going to come in about, I don't know, to 50. Drop our opacity, and we're going to run this color on the coasts. On the coast and stuff like that. Yeah, it's the the replace layer is really cool. I've been kind of fooling around with that myself lately. And that can get some really cool stuff. If you hit the additive, it works great. So let's just focus on these mountains here. We're just going to run this. Do you see how I'm running the color in between those areas? And lo and behold, you get almost an instant mountain range. Now, if we're doing it down here, I mean, I'd be doing like stuff like this and coming in here. And it's just, as we look back, it just doesn't look the same. It doesn't look good. So the smaller definitely is better. Always side with smaller. You can always make your mountains bigger or add more mountains. So I'm just putting color right next to the mountains, moving it up, putting it in from the coast along these lines. Then I'm going to come back with this color, with this brown. And where the larger areas are, where there's there. That is how I fix mountains in ArtRage, because I find that I am fixing the mountains a lot. Now, do I like what I have here? Kinda. Am I going to change what I have here? Probably. But that's why I'm going to go back to Wonderdraft and plan things out a little bit better. Just going to go with some orange here. Nope, way too much orange. Or something like that. Now, if I was planning in Wonderdraft, let's go back to Wonderdraft and have a look at what I'm doing here. Let's go ahead and make a new map here. Discard. Same size. I think this is important to go over. I'll put it somewhere. I think it's in current project. There it is. Color's rough. I can probably... Let's go over some color in this. Let's go adventure. Yay. The key with color is go light. Let's add some mountains over here. Symbols, paths. We'll add some... Now again, I could put mountains like this, but it's going to be way too big, so I'm going to like do it real small. But if I was making mountains, and we're coming here, down here. Now usually with Wonderdraft I go straight, just draw a straight line of mountains, not bothering what they look like, just kind of giving me a path. Let's say this comes down like this. We have a plate here that's smashing into it. Okay, and then maybe some mountains like this. That's cool, that works. I kind of really like this actually. Maybe some mountains right here, and maybe it goes down into this area like that. Okay, I've got my line, and then I'm going to come back here and just go side to side with my mountains in Wonderdraft. This also works great in Incarnate. See how that builds up the thickness? And I'm not staying too long. I'm just going to build up kind of the spine or the ridge of the mountains. Just back and forth. Back and forth, not fast. Just breaking some mountains out. Yay! All right, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come in, I'm going to reduce the scale to about 20. Let's go ahead and zoom in here. And where the mountains kind of poke out, I'm just going to come out in with just little strings of mountains. Like that. Just little tiny strings. Maybe fill in some areas on these big mountains. Do you see? Not being not being afraid of being small, and maybe some little offshoots coming off there. Same thing over here. back and forth. Okay. Now you mentioned coloring. Let's get into coloring really quick. For coloring with maps, let me show you what I tend to do, and it's consistent. Yeah, I know. I do rivers bad. That's my weakness. Let's go ahead and we're gonna go into. We're gonna make some rivers really quick. So let's just make their rivers right here. We're just gonna come in, erase. Put some rivers in here. I'm just using the race tool because I want this to be consistent. They have a river tool, but I don't like it. All right. So we'll just go right here and we'll show color. I do, and I use color to do that. Now it's Tabasco. Is that correct? I do that with color to show elevation. Because with a map like this is kind of your generalized token-esque fantasy map. Like if we went back to, you can kind of see the elevation. Wow, I really hate that color now that I look at it. I got work to do on this one, but I've got the scale now. And it's all about writing down everything you do. Like this is what I do. I go in and write down like how big my pixels is just for a map when I find something I like. Okay, let's go back to Wonderdraft really quick. Well, thanks, Distributional. That's really kind of you. All right, and we're going to put there and there and there. Okay. So what I'm going to do first is I only have just a couple of colors to choose from. For working with Wonderdraft, however, we have some options. This little fill icon right here, filler, and I just want to do mountains. Let's pull back a little. I'm just going to click on this guy here. Just run my brush over the mountains. As such, just like that. Now, I do trees very last. That's the only thing I do. That's the thing I do last on all my paintings, because that's going to define a lot of what the map looks like, and I want that detail to end the last. Okay, I'm going to hit ground, turn off mountains. I'm going to go with my paintbrush. Whoops, my paintbrush. Going to move my opacity down, and then I'm going to start with green, and let's up our opacity. Yep, there it is. I wonder why I wasn't doing on the brush. That's weird. Okay, we're going to use our mouse. We're going to go with a lower opacity. We're just going to run this green color up the rivers, but not all the way. When we get to the mountains, we're going to back off quite a bit. And I'm wondering why my stylus is erasing. That is very annoying. All right, that's cool. We're going to run this green color up into our rivers. And you can see this brownish color is what we're going to be using for our white. So let's just click all this on ground. Now, when we click it on ground, we can cover the mountains, and that's fine. Now, some of these mountains underneath them are going to be this green color. The next thing I'm going to do is kind of come in with this brown color, and I'm going to go over the green. I'm going to put my opacity down like 0.27, and I'm just going to run it over this so I get a nice little blend that's going on. Again, I do this with all my maps. I start with green on the bottom, then I come in and do where my high points are. And this is going to be kind of a back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Yeah, I love rivers. That's why I get in trouble with them. Okay, we're going to come back with this opacity and kind of see how I'm going like back and forth here to create that texture and substance with the hills there. Not too much though. We can also bring our opacity down quite a bit there. So I have these higher areas. Now I can make these smooth and I can make these as big as I want, but I'm just kind of doing these craggy lines where to show the elevation. Then I'm going to come back with this brown and I'm doing circles now. There we go. See that? Oh, a little too much there. And again, I do this on all my maps. Same process. Just make sure your opacity is low. You can easily, if you're doing digital artwork, you can easily correct this. Incarnate's the same way. Then I'm going to go with this yellow. And in the top here, I'm just going to turn my opacity almost down to nothing. I'm just going to put the, let's not do that. Let's kind of come up here in the mountains and kind of bring it down. So we're going to start in the mountains, kind of bring this yellow down. I'm wondering if I like this yellow. So I'm going to overpaint on where I have that green, and it's working. It's kind of working. I don't like it too much, but it's working. See how I bring that down into the different areas? It's real subtle, and I hope you guys can see it. There we go. Back and forth for texture. Circle for blending. Okay, then I'm going to come in with this brownish color, and I'm going to put these on the mountains. I'm going to run this color down into the same area. Where there's mountains, I'm going to put this as, and we get this kind of a height elevation thing going here. Okay, see what we're getting there? Now, I'm going to come back with green. And I'm going to kind of do the same thing that I did last time. Again, really small circular strokes. Just kind of add color up into everything. And I hope that answers your question, Tommaso, about showing elevation, that I do it with color. Let's go back to Incarnate. Okay, we're back here. I'm going to come in here. And I'm going to run that over where I want little elevation to be. Now, well, let's do the majority of this. Let's just run this color. Again, it's all about having a very low opacity. Something I love about Wonderdraft, though, it's so mouse friendly. ArtRage is okay, but it's a little bit pissy sometimes. I'm running this green down through these valley area. Hills, let's go back to Wonderdraft. Hills are kind of rough. Let me show you in Wonderdraft the symbols for hills. What happens with the hills that I'm doing? Let's find some mountain inked hills 2. The problem with hills is that they need to be, if I'm doing hills and I'm doing this right here, that's fine, but it ends up sort of cluttering the map. Let me show you a case. Because if I'm doing hills here, and I zoom out, it kind of adds this salt and pepper thing. And when I'm out far with scale, since I've been making the mountains so small, it adds it almost looks like blemishes until you zoom in real close. I could do more hills, or I could just do a couple here and there. Let's go ahead and Control Z the majority of these. Come on. Oh, looks like I can't. I can do little hills like this. And if I zoom out, it looks okay, but then I don't get the resolution I want. So I do my hills with color and stuff like that. If there's some specific hills, though, you know, something like I can do something like this and add them in. And then when you zoom out, you kind of get that kind of thing. But again, I think there's a couple others. Those are some interesting hills. I could do those by the mountains, but again, I'd have to make them small, and we run into that. We run into the same issue that it kind of clogs up the painting. Right now I'm keeping them right next to the mountains. But it creates so much visibility and so much detail and texture right there. It just kind of bogs down your painting. So let's go ahead and get rid of some of these. And we're going to get rid of mountains too. Well, here, we'll just get rid of some of these hills. So in Wonderdraft, the answer is hills clutter. So I usually don't do them, and I just use paint. The green to the brown, lower opacity, higher resolution. So we're back in Wonderdraft. I mean ArtRage, whatever the hell it is. Oops, I cussed on stream. Oh. I'm just putting green down, going kind of willy-nilly it, not being very careful, just yeah. And then I come back with, let's go with a lighter green. I'm just going to circle this in to these areas. You guys can see I'm just going like this, with a slider green. If you guys have ever painted miniatures, it's the exact same method with miniatures. The only difference is you don't have a color wash. We rely on the lighting of ArtRage to do the color and wash. Okay, see how that's getting better? All right. Now we're going to come back with just a touch lighter mountain area. We're going to be very light on where we want our hill areas to be. We can even turn this down to about 100. Yeah, local maps are fine as long as it's not bogging down. It's not bogging down the details. But on local maps, I mean, let's say we're back in Wonderdraft. And I only have a couple mountains, so let's say I'm... Oh, I don't like those mountains. Never have. Okay, let's say I'm making some mountains like this. And this is a local map. I'd make my spine as such. Then I'd go in and let's find our hills, playful hills. I don't know if I like those playful hills. Okay, those aren't bad. And then I'd do the same thing. I'd just come out, get it right next. Right next to the mountain, so it becomes a detail of the mountain. And let's say I'm framing, let's say this map right here was my frame for my for the map I was making. Then you kind of get this really nice detailed where the hills are. Let's put some hills right here. Same thing. And if I was doing a local map, that'd give me a really cool, some really cool little details. And again, I'd come out from the mountains with them. How does that look? Tomoso, does that look okay? Then when it's time to do trees, yeah, not that big. You know, I put my trees there. Those are like way too big trees. Let's try one of these guys. Get the density up. Right up. There we go. Little circles to do my trees. And then you have these really cool detailed map of the hills and the trees and stuff like that. And it works. It works really great. But if I was doing forests now, if I had hills here, like right here, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference between the trees and the hills, if that makes any sense. But there I go. I've got my trees going in place. Okay, you can kind of see the difference there between the two. Maybe, you know what, even... Yeah, your forest would be like gigantic here. You'd have this big old forest and stuff like that. Yeah, how do you want to send that to me? I'll definitely do that live if you want me to, or I can do it. It's your call on the input. Okay, going back to Wonderdraft, let's, again, I'm still doing the little, see how I'm doing that? Just a little at a time. Just barely touching it. And let's go ahead and look at the world view. Do you see the difference in the size of the mountains? Do you see the difference in scale there? This I could live with. I'm not going to, though. I'm going to do something else, but this I can definitely live with. Yeah, go ahead. Avantnovis, Gmail. I can go there. I would be happy to go there. Let me write this in the chat. Again, guys, if you have maps to show me, I'd love to go over it. There's my email address. Just go ahead and fire that off to me, and we will get that. Let's go ahead and move back to these mountains. Now, these mountains, I kind of want granite. So instead of these brown, so we're going to go with this gray. Make it about 150. Again, keeping my opacity low. I'm going click, 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 click over the mountains. Where I want the mountains. No, it's fine. This is a community live stream, and this is about what the community needs and what the community wants. Okay. Now, these mountains aren't finished, so I really don't care about them, but I'm going to care about that right there. We're just going to focus on these. I might run some of this pale color even down. Now, if I want to get really fancy, I'll drop this down to, I don't know, about 15. Turn the opacity to maximum. Come into the top of these. Oops. Come into this top of these mountains. And then at the very tops, would kind of add just the white. And would follow the rough lines we've made with that brush. There we go. Little flat top here. There we go, just like that. Okay. Oh, hey, thanks for joining in. Zergatone, really appreciate it. Hope I'm saying your name right. But you see, when we zoom out, it looks like we actually have mountains there. With just that white touch for the peaks. Really sets aside those mountains. Okay, let's move to our email address. All right, Dominic. Ooh. Wow. Okay, I like this. Okay, folks. Oh, wow. If you want to know how to do hills, this is how you do hills. I like that. Let's see what you're doing here. You're doing just little hills that aren't in clumps. Big mountains, little hills. Love this right here. Absolutely love that. Love the lines you have here. This it kind of creates a tangent, but I really like this. You have this curve and you have this other curve. Wow. Distributional. Good grief. This looks good. Tommaso, this is how you do hills. Just little splatterings here and there. I'm learning stuff from you there, Distributional. Love how you're doing the islands. I like this divide here. This reminds me a lot of Scotland. Don't let anybody tell you this is wrong, because they can go jump. I would, if anything, increase the size of this river to show it's a kind of... Yeah, you know what? Don't. It looks fine the way it is. Any critiques I have is this looks amazing. I like this. I like the little spikies coming off that. That fills me with joy. I like this too. Like some type of asteroid hit that, maybe a big one here. But man, I like distributional. I don't have many critiques on this. Not at all. The only thing that I would say... Yeah, Peter, it does look amazing. Is the hills... Now, this is a personal preference. This is a personal preference. The hills might be taking a little bit of focus away from your mountains. However, to completely judge that, I'd like to see where your forests are first. Because your forests are going to be your biggest attention grabber. And in all honesty, this might... If I was putting a forest here... Okay, I'm going to be a horrible person. No, I'm not going to be a horrible person. But, oh my gosh. Sir, well done. That's one of the most prettiest landforms I've seen in a long time. That's even better than what I'm doing right now. So, yeah, this is what I'm attempting. And yours looks so... I'm jealous, man. I'll be honest. I am jealous of that map. Well done. Now, you're doing this in Wonderdraft. Wow. Okay, that's what Wonderdraft can do, folks. If you want a good example. Now let's see if I have anyone else. Okay, Dominic, I got yours. Okay. If anybody else wants to send me a map to look on stream, absolutely. Oh, you're putting this in ArtRage too. Well, I can't wait to see this. When you're working with correcting maps, you're going to get in a situation where it looks like butt. All right. And when you hit that, just realize, see, right now I'm kind of not liking this, but if I add another mountains and some rivers and stuff like that, this is going to look good. Right now, to me, this looks like butt, and I want to go in and change this. What happens is a lot of us get afraid, not afraid, but we start not liking it, and we're like, oh, I got to go back to the drawing board. Not to knock you, Peter, but I think, Peter, when it's looking bad, it's right about to become good. You just need to tweak it just a little bit more. Don't be afraid of something look horrible. I mean, this one here, I've got these mountains that are, hundreds of miles high, and, I'm not happy. I wasn't happy with this, but we're coming into stuff like this, and it's matching how big I want this map to be, and it's matching how I want to do this. I hope that makes sense. If your map's not looking the way, keep going with it. Do exactly as much as you can with it, and don't be afraid for it to look bad. That's great. That's how you learn. So that's how I paint mountains. That's how I use Wonderdraft. That's how I use Wonderdraft to plan. I'm distributional. I'm very impressed. Very, very impressed. I can't wait to see what you do in ArtRage. If I can give you a word of advice, when it's time to import this, when it's time to take this map, are you going to take the black and white image, or are you just going to lay it on top? If you're going to lay it on top, then that's fine. Just reduce the opacity. If you are going to actually import the figure, what I'd usually do is I'd go to black and white. Let's get rid of all this stuff I put in here. I go black and white, and then I would go into your water and adjust put all these down to 0. See these? Put those all down to 0. Freshwater outline and put it to white. And then you can go in and you can chop off all this gray. Like, let's say let's export this to Wonderdraft. Okay. let's say I was doing a new thing here. Yep. Sorry, I gotta take down the canvas settings. Input file to layer. Oh, there it is. Okay, here's my map directly from Wonderdraft. Yes, it's wonderful and good. Oh, no, it wasn't wonderful and good. Gonna have to zoom out a lot. There we go. So that was going to be my map right there. Yes. Get my selection tool, select that. Delete the gray to see how easy that was. Now I have a base for my map. I can lock the transparency, or I can duplicate that. I hope that helps. I hope that helps with once you're ready to bring that in. All right. Yeah, ArtRage, you have to fight it. You're actually putting, well, not fight it, but you're actually putting a ton of mass onto it. Like right now, if I was going in here, I'd be doing this kind of thing. No, I don't want to lock the transparency there. There you go. And then it'd be a matter of going in and getting everything in there as such. So, yeah, there's a lot of, it can be fun. It can be a little aggravating with ArtRage. The key, though, I'd recommend you go small and you edit smaller, if that makes any sense. For the map I'm doing here, again, this is my settings. So 18,000 pixels by 12,000 pixels at 500 pixels per inch. Print size is 36 by 24, meaning I could blow this up. 36 times 5 is a lot. 5, 10, 15, 150 inches. So that's why I want to keep things as small as you can. Now, notice I did some of the mountains here. If I wanted to add more, I can, just by doing that. But I'd always want to add things as small as possible. Peter, you mentioned now, was it my map you kind of like the outline of? I think it needs more coastal details. Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right there. There's kind of some big old Chungus Islands, which is okay. But I'm liking it. Look at the detail on this. Distributional, well done. You have spent some time on this one and it shows. So, oh no, yeah, no worries, Peter. But I think you brought out a very important part that I noticed is we have the islands are so big here, it kind of throws off my scale. Like the difference between like Dominic's islands, do you see how small they get? And those islands are actually making the scale. It's those small little details. Like up here. Oops. Just knocked my microphone down. Sorry about that if I blew someone's eardrums out. Do you see how small the details are? Yeah. Okay. Well, we've covered a lot. We've done a lot here. I showed you guys kind of how to fix when I have trouble. To review, you just go in, you use your eraser. I'll just do this really quick. Use a big eraser. We want the pressure to be down. We kind of come in here. Let's up the pressure a little bit more. And we kind of reduce. We just go over the mountains themselves where it's too big. Just take our eraser, go over this as such. Cut those. And find out where we want to put our new mountains. Do the glitter thing. Then do the harsh chaos thing. And then make our cuts again. Well, I hope it was good. I hope it was good distributional. Let me know in the comments what you guys want or need. With ArtRage, I can point it out. With Wonderdraft, I can point out. I think I'm going to do some Incarnate map making. I might even plan this out in Incarnate to see what I can make. But I hope this has been helpful. I hope this has been good. Um, whoops. I hope that this is something that you guys can use. Again, if you want to see anything, if you want me to mess with certain software, if you see software that I'd be interested in, please put it in the comments below. I might just turn on some music later today and work in World Creator because I got, like I said, I got a D&D group that I need to make some dungeons and stuff for. So I'm going to sign off here. Thank you so much for coming. Have a great day and see you soon.